The method of joinery here was inspired by Mike Montgomery from Modern Builds, who in turn was inspired by a blog called DIY Candy. I'll link to their projects below, but essentially they built an outdoor bench using 4x2s. And I've done the same, but on a step stool. I needed a stool to perform physiotherapy exercises after I sustained an injury, a gluteal tendinopathy, which isn't like a bursitis or a tendinitis, and it's going to require a lot of exercise to get better. So I thought, what better, build my own tool. And I wanted something that I could do dips and steps and some high steps, and also some standing up from a seated position on one leg. I played with some ideas in Sketchup. Most of them depended on what wood I'd end up getting and the sizes of it. So in the end, the final model was dictated by some CLS timber I found some cheap in the shop. Most of it was twisted and bent and split, as stuff in chain stores is, but I found some that were straight enough to do the job. After scratching my head a lot, I worked out a cutting list. Surely there must be some sort of software for doing this, but I ended up using Excel. On most projects I'd cut things by hand, but this project required a lot of repeatable and identical cuts. I don't have the luxury of a chop saw or a miter saw, so I had to come up with something different. And it was then I worked out that if I opened the jaws on my workbench, the wood actually sank to exactly the right height that I could lay a track saw across. It was slightly awkward at times, but it worked a treat. And this is what the resulting pile looked like. I then examined all the cut pieces for defects and splits, and ran super glue into any knots and splits where I thought necessary. I then attempted a dry fit to make sure everything would go together correctly. Struck by my lack of clamps, I had to use a lot of tape to hold stuff together, which worked out well. With the 3 sections in place, I then decided to use dowels to hold them in alignment, so that would help the glue up. Thankfully, they all actually lined up really well. Because this timber, like a lot of timber, comes with round edges, I did consider removing that at first, but I actually decided to leave it in the end because I thought it would help the look and also cover any minor alignment issues. And here we are, looking very, very sturdy. The big downside of leaving the roundovers on was that it left a lot of glue in some of the valleys, which required a lot of sanding, and after staining it required even more sanding. I was slightly worried about dyeing pine dark brown because it has a tendency not to accept stain a lot or even reverse the grain, so you end up with the same thing but backwards. But that ended up to be the least of my problems, where I'd managed to slather glue everywhere. So after tediously removing all the glue marks, I restained it again. It came out nice and dark, almost like something you'd see in a church. So after that, I just liberally applied 3 coats of Danish oil, the end grain, which drank that up. After 3 coats of that, I was happy. It wasn't a deliberate effect to make it look like an old oak antique, but I really like the effect. Within the confines of my garage, it probably took about a week for the Danish oil to cure and the smell to go away. But in the end, it serves the purpose perfectly. And it also acts as a nifty guitar stool to sit on as well. And as you've made it this far through the video, well, thank you for watching. Goodbye.